So good evening, everybody. My name is Laura Hunter, and I'm the owner of Drop the Leash Dog Training. And I'm here tonight to talk to you about our new updated Walks at Work program for dogs with leash reactivity. So if you are here watching this video tonight, chances are you have a reactive dog. And probably you are also here looking for help from a professional. That is actually a really good choice because reactivity is a tough issue for pet owners to solve themselves. I've been working with and studying reactivity for almost 10 years with top trainers and vet behaviorists who are experts in their field, and I am still acquiring new concepts and techniques to pass on to my students. So you and your dog have thousands of walks ahead of you. Those walks should be quality time that you get to spend with your dog. You need to resolve the reactivity because unless we help your dog with that reactive response, it's only going to intensify. Your dog is not going to grow out of it, and it's not going to magically disappear no matter how hard we wish for that. So before I talk about the program, I just want to take a few minutes to explain why your dog is displaying those embarrassing and horrific behaviors. Reactivity is actually an emotional response to a situation. Emotions drive the behavior. If your dog is fearful, he's trying to increase distance between himself and the scary trigger, but he can't because he's constrained on leash. So his only option is to lunge and bark and look really scary so he can frighten the scary thing away. If you have a social dog, they probably just want to interact with another dog or a human. He can't though because they are also constrained on leash. So the dog becomes frustrated because he can't get what he wants, and he expresses that frustration by lunging and barking. In the Walks at Work program, you and I are going to teach your dog that they can choose to offer you an alternative behavior, a better alternative behavior. And usually the behavior that we're looking for is that the dog turns away from the trigger and back to you and engages with you instead. So I know for many of you that sounds like a pretty big challenge at this point, but I want to assure you it is totally achievable. We can't forget though that the lunging and barking is driven by emotions, so we need to address those emotions. When we teach the dog that they can turn back to you, you are going to engage them in a fun game that provides food. And in turning back to you, the dog is getting relief from being upset. So your dog will actually start to think that the sight of the trigger, say, they're reactive to dogs, say it's a dog, the sight of that other dog actually predicts food, fun, and relief. And so, hey, maybe that dog is not such a bad thing. So that's how we change your dog's emotional response from negative to positive. In this program, you will have 6 private in-person learning sessions with me. You can't do this on your own, and you shouldn't be expected to. I know that often by the time owners are looking for help, they are overwhelmed and stressed out and have little confidence in their ability to handle the situation. It's my job as a professional to coach you so that you can feel both competent and confident enough to be able to help and support your dog. And I used to offer this program online, and experience and personal and working with other people has now convinced me that people actually need a human there in the moment to help them. So that's what my job is, to be there in the moment to help you. So we follow 3 principles in this program. Number 1, we teach you for the situation, not in the situation. You already know from experience that if you and your dog are in a situation with a trigger, you cannot respond calmly, and you can't think your way out of that situation. By asking you to work in the presence of a trigger, we would actually be setting you up for failure. So instead, you are going to learn all of your skills in a neutral environment free of triggers and stress so that you and your dog can both practice responding calmly and thoughtfully. Principle number 2, we always work at the level at which you and your dog can be successful. Success and reinforcement builds confidence and new habits. both you and your dog have acquired some ineffective responses. Your dog lunges and barks, and you probably instinctively pull on the leash to get them under control and out of the situation. And that is a completely natural and logical response, probably something that we would all do when we didn't know what else to do. So in a neutral situation where there are no triggers, you can build new habits of response. Your dog can learn to turn back to you willingly, and you can learn to reinforce the dog on a loose leash without pulling. So number 3, and I think this is the most important one, learning must be fun and simple for both you and your dog. I'm sure up until now, the world outside your house probably hasn't been a really fun and relaxing place for your dog. There's always that anticipatory stress of, will I see another dog or another human? And both of you are always scanning for triggers. So you're never having relaxed, happy walks. So we're going to put the fun back into that. And we're going to put the fun into the learning. We're going to use the games from our Games to Train course. They're simple, they're fun to play, and for both you and your dog, and you don't have to set aside practice times during the day to drill exercises. You simply incorporate the games into your walk with your dog. All right. I'm going to walk you through the 3-step process that we've designed for this program. In the first session, I'm going to teach you the necessary training games. There's only about 4 or 5 of them. I'm going to show you how to incorporate them into your walk. So we're actually going to go on a walk together, and I'm going to show you how to use the games as you walk. You then take the games home and you practice them on all your walks without triggers until your dog has started offering you those responses. When they start offering you the responses, you know it's starting to become a habit for your dog, and that's what we're trying to achieve. Step 2, when you're feeling confident and fluent with the games, we're going to start working with your dog's triggers. If your dog is dog reactive, we'll be using my dogs. If your dog is people reactive, we'll be using my people. So you will come to our facility where you can practice in a controlled situation at a distance where your dog stays calm and is able to give you that response, and you can stay calm so that you are able to support your dog. I will work with your dog at the beginning of the session, so just to get them started successfully and for you to see how it's done. And then I'm passing the leash over to you, and I will coach you until you can do it as well. Now, step 3, once your dog is successful in these controlled situations, we're going to take you both out into the world to practice in real life situations. We have to take the dog out to practice in real life. So again, I will be with you. I will get the dog started in the situation, and then I will pass it over to you and coach you so that you can be successful as well. So what is included in the program? Obviously the 6 practice sessions that I just talked about, email and text access to me whenever you have questions or you're stuck with something in your training. You just need to email me or text me. I will get back to you the same day if I possibly can. And what we'll do is we'll set up a phone or a Zoom, and we will work through the questions or work through the issue until all the questions are answered and the issue is solved. You will also get video versions of all the training games that we play in the program, so that if any time you're not sure if you're doing it right or you think you've missed something, you've got that game there on video on your computer. You can just quickly check in. There are also 10 5-minute strategy videos. So the strategy videos have all the other stuff you need to know that I don't have time to explain in the coaching sessions. In the coaching sessions, I want to concentrate on your mechanics and your dog's response. The strategy videos, some examples, how to prevent management to prevent your dog from barking in other situations, at your door, at your window, in your backyard, tips on what to do if you get caught in an emergency situation where a trigger shows up in front of your face, how to lower your dog's stress levels, how to use reinforcers properly, what equipment to use. There's 10 of them, and they cover everything you need to know in the program outside of the actual training. And then lastly, I'm also including some bonus activities. So some scent work, some target work, some agility games that you don't need equipment for. Because some days it might just not be a great idea to take your dog for a walk. So say we're out, in the morning, your dog ran into a trigger and went over threshold, and now both of you are stressed out. Not a great idea to take your dog out for a walk. In fact, some days you just might not be up to getting out there with your dog. That's also fine not to take your dog for a walk. But I know that people feel guilty and that their dog needs something. So all of these games offer, your dog brain work. They can work their brain. They can get some exercise. And you guys can have fun playing them together, and they will totally replace a walk, and you do not have to feel guilty about that. All right. So I know this is a recorded video, so there's nobody here to ask questions, but I am familiar with the questions that do get asked. So I'm just going to bring up the top 3 or so questions. Hopefully these will also answer questions that you might have as well. So the big number 1 question that I always get is, can you guarantee my dog's reactivity will go completely away? No, I can't. It wouldn't be ethical or realistic for me to say, yes, absolutely, we're going to eliminate that reactive response. They are dogs, they have emotions. It isn't something that a good trainer should guarantee. And honestly, if a trainer tells you that they can guarantee that they can eliminate those responses, they are very probably shutting down the behavior by correcting or punishing the dog's response. So when the dog's trigger shows up and the dog starts to respond, they are correcting that. And I will admit that does work in eliminating the behavior, and it can often work pretty quickly. But that method is not changing your dog's emotions. And in fact, it's often adding fear to the equation, because your dog wants to respond, they're simply afraid to respond. It ultimately doesn't work, and it can destroy your dog's trust in you to keep them safely out of those stressful situations. Question number 2, how soon will this program work? I can't tell you that either, I'm sorry. Every dog and owner are different. Some dogs have been practicing the effective behaviors longer, so it's going to take them longer to change that habit. And some owners just, the constraints of, their daily life might, not enable them to practice as much as they want to. So there are so many other factors that I cannot give you a time frame. I can tell you that you will be able to reduce your dog's reactivity. I just can't tell you how long that's going to take. Question number 3, will my dog be able to greet other dogs on leash? On-leash greetings don't work for 95% of all dogs, and it doesn't matter whether the dog is reactive or not. On-leash greetings almost always end up with an argument between the dogs, not the owners. If your dog is fearful, they're not going to want to get that close to another dog anyway. And if your dog is frustrated, you don't want them running up to greet other dogs on leash, because that's what we had to eliminate in the first place. So you don't want them going back to that behavior of pulling you, lunging and barking to other dogs. So our goal in this program is simply to have your dog happily turn back, engage with you, and walk on with you instead of lunging and barking. And honestly, it's something that I think all dogs should be able to do, not just dogs that display reactivity. So what can I tell you realistically about outcomes? I will tell you that at the end of the course, you will have the skills and tools to keep practicing and keep progressing. I'll also tell you that if you practice and play the games consistently over time, if you manage your dog to prevent them from reacting, you will at some point be able to take your dog for peaceful walks and outings. Your dog will not magically one day just become non-reactive. And you are certainly, I don't think, going to be able to pull your phone out and start scanning, things on text messages on your phone while your dog is out walking, but you will be able to have happy walks and outdoor adventures with your dog successfully. I've worked with a lot of dogs and owners over the years. The owners who have been the most successful are the ones who kept playing the games consistently over time. And honestly, for many of us, the games have just become a way of life. We play and reinforce our dogs almost without thinking about it. Our dogs weren't the only ones who developed new habits. So a lot of us have just developed the habit of playing games with their dogs whenever we are in the situations where we need to. It's just an automatic response on our part as well. But it works. I know it works. A lot of my reactive dog students are now in group agility classes with their dogs and doing very well in those group classes. Your dogs are never going to be perfect, any more than we are ever going to be perfect. Occasionally, you and your dog will fall off the rails and revert to old habits, and your dog will look at another dog and they will react. It happens to all of us. But the difference will be that you will know how to deal with it and you will just move on because it's just a little blip. All right. So for the most part, if you keep practicing, you build a reinforcement history, you will be able to go on happy walks and outings with your dogs. I know it will happen eventually. All right. And the very last question is, how much does the program cost? The cost of the program is $700 plus HST. So if you are interested in the program and you'd like to talk more about it, I always like to talk to people in person before they sign up to get more information and see if there are any last minute questions. So if you want to talk to me about how the program would work for your dog, how we can adjust it to your dog, or you just have some questions about the program in general, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. The easiest way to get hold of me is probably through the contact page on our website. Just send me a message saying that you want to talk about the Walks at Work program, and I will get back to you immediately to set up either a Zoom or a phone call. All right. So thank you everybody for watching the video, and please enjoy the rest of your evening.